Hello, I'm Dr. Vanita Rattan, and this channel is dedicated to skincare for skin of color. As you know, I'm a doctor, but I'm also a cosmetic formulator specifically for skin of color. Okay, so today's video is a little bit different. We're doing an assumptions video. I had so much fun doing the first video, and I thought it was time for a second one because at this point you should know quite a lot about me, and I figured that the assumptions would be a little bit different. So let's do this. Give me a thumbs up. Let's dive right in. So I did ask you on my Instagram what your assumptions were. So if you aren't following me, please make sure you do, because the origin of all my YouTube videos starts on Instagram. I tend to do a poll or ask you questions, or you tell me what videos you want, and then I come on YouTube and I make them. So please do follow me at the Hyperpigmentation Clinic or Skincare by Dr. V. The questions you asked were really in depth and did make my heart go a little bit. I did get a few palpitations, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm going to answer all of them as honestly as possible. Right, so start off with the first one. Do I plan to have another baby? No way. Do you know what? Nobody told me at the beginning how hard it was going to be. You know, people make out like having children is, you know, the pregnancy is so beautiful and it's such a magical experience. It was not a magical experience, honestly. My cardiac output went through the roof. I worked right until the day I had my children. So I was standing and lecturing. So at the time I was teaching students how to get into medical school, and I would lecture to hundreds of students. I'd be standing there fully pregnant with my belly out here. I couldn't even see my shoes, and my husband would be putting my shoes on. It was terrible. And having to project my voice. I couldn't even breathe. And I was feeling sick the whole time. I had backache. I had knee injury. It was just awful. So that was my time with Sienna. And then with Josh, I had something called 2-vessel cord, and I was so worried about his growth because it can lead to growth retardation of the child, that I was eating. You know, I was trying to almost make myself diabetic. I was trying to make myself so overweight that, you know, when you are diabetic, your children tend to come out larger, literally. So any mother will relate that you will sacrifice yourself, you'll sacrifice your health, your happiness, everything, just to make sure the safety of your child obviously is absolute number one. So I was trying to make myself diabetic, and when the results came back that I wasn't diabetic, I was actually upset because I thought, you know, I'm not doing enough for my baby. So I'd have like a tub of Haagen-Dazs every day. It was just terrible, so unhealthy, and I probably shouldn't be. This is probably oversharing, but this is basically what I do. And so the thought of doing this a third time round is just broke me. And I also feel like my work has become my third baby. I just would not be able to have any more time for anything else as it is. I feel like sometimes my children forget what I look like, and so yes, it'd be very unfair on the third baby. The next one was a really interesting question, and that was, have you ever questioned your career as a doctor? So originally I didn't want to do medicine. I remember being 13 years old at the time and telling my parents I didn't want to do medicine. But, you know, it was sort of the dumb thing. You know, my mum and dad were just like, every Indian family wants one child to be a doctor, and this is why there are so many South Asian doctors in the world. But no, at the time, you know, 13, that isn't what I wanted to do. And then I did work experience, and I found it really interesting. And when I actually did the degree itself, it was probably the most incredible good degree I could ever have done. I wouldn't have found anything else as interesting as medicine, because it's so relatable. It's something that, you know, anything your family ever goes through, you can understand the pathology of it, what should be happening, what's being missed. So you're constantly investigating, and it's a really interesting degree to do, and I would absolutely recommend the degree to my children as well. In addition, I would never have been able to go down the pathway of being a doctor and a cosmetic formulator had I not have done the degree. I never would have, even if I'd done purely the apprenticeship as a cosmetic formulator, I wouldn't have understood how it affects skin in a clinical setting. And it's only because I did medicine and physiology pharmacology that I understood not just the formula, but also how to do the trials. And so I needed to have one foot in either world in order for me to understand where the gaps were for our skin of color community. So I never questioned it again from 13 years old, basically. So yeah, mom and dad were right, and they pretty much are right with everything they say. And I hope they're not watching this video. So the next one, you guys are so observant. One of you asked me, are you emotional and sensitive? Yes, is the answer. I am pathetic. I'm so pathetic. I'm trying to work on myself and my own mental health. I do think my skin is becoming thicker. I do think that I'm getting better at dealing with online attacks. At the beginning, I was really just so pathetic. But I'm improving, but I'm still pathetic. So that's that. The next question is so interesting, and the question is, have I ever experienced racism? And so I was very fortunate. I went to one of the top schools in the UK called Lady Eleanor Hollis School for Girls. It was a private school, and even though it was predominantly a Caucasian school, I think there was maybe 3 brown girls in my year, I never experienced racism. It was, really was about your grades and how hard you studied. So I appreciated that. Then I went to medical school, where guess what? It was disproportionately brown and Asian and South Asian. So again, we were overrepresented in medical school, and it was the time that I bonded with a lot of my best friends, who are still to this day my best friends. Over 20 years ago we met, and so I never felt any racism at university either, because don't forget, the doctors that we were learning from were also a lot of them were Asian too. So in the medical field, I never felt it in the UK. Then I went straight into working for Skin of Color and investigating skin of color. And actually, it was an opportunity for me, for there not being as much research as I wish there had been. It allowed me to expand this field, and it was an opportunity to do that. So it's always worked in my favor, actually, being skin of color. Being Asian has always worked in my favor. I've always felt like there's just been an abundance of opportunity. It's never felt like it's worked against me. So I'm so blessed, and I think I'm one of the few people who feels this way. It'd be really interesting actually to hear from you guys. Have you guys experienced racism in your school, your work, or anything that's taken opportunity away from you? Or has it helped you? Has being Asian helped you? Or being brown or skin of color, has it helped you? I would say for me, it's helped me, but I know it's absolutely not the case for everybody, and it'd be really interesting to talk about that. So please do write down below your experiences, because I'd love to read it. So the next one's really, oh wow. The next one is, you're very strict with your employees. Why would you think this? First of all, I never call my staff employees. They are my team. They are an extended part of my family. I would never say I have done this or I have done this. I always say we have achieved X, Y, or Z. I take full responsibility for any mistakes that they make, because that came down to me and my poor leadership and my poor teaching. So I don't have any blame culture in our team, because I take full responsibility for everything. If anything goes wrong, it's 100% my fault, because I didn't manage it correctly. I also think that the great thing about my team is that we have a purpose that's bigger than ourselves. We're all skin of color. We're all actually female skin of color in my company, and we all can understand the gap in the market. We can all understand how we've been overlooked and why there isn't enough for us. And so we are striving, we're in this movement, and we're striving to achieve something for people of color globally. It's more than just a job for any of us. It really feels like a calling, and it feels like this is something we're put on earth to do. I know it sounds really maybe a bit melodramatic, but that's definitely how I feel. And I do believe that's how the rest of my team feels, which is why this is not a 9 to 5. This is why, I can message any of my team anywhere at any time, any day, Sunday, midnight, I can message, and you know, they'll be responding immediately, because it's not a job. It does feel like we're creating something so much bigger than us that will hopefully help millions globally. The next one's so sweet, and you are absolutely spot on. You are a helpless romantic. Yes, I really am. Like, right from Bollywood, I feel like anyone that's been watching Bollywood from a young age is a bit of a helpless romantic. And I do chase my husband around the house just for a cuddle, and he's constantly pushing me away. He's not as much of a romantic as I am. But no, he is my rock, and I'm so grateful for him, honestly. So yes, I am. The next one was a little bit harsh, actually, but I think it's worth addressing. So the question is, the assumption was, you only started YouTube to promote your kits. Obviously it's a bit harsh, but let's discuss the timeline so you fully understand what happened. I actually only properly started YouTube when COVID started. Before that, I'd done it for a few months, but sort of on and off, and I was busy with the clinic. But when the clinic had to close because of lockdown, I started doing YouTube, and I would do 5 videos a day. It got to a point where I realized, after I investigated a lot of brands, that there was very little for skin of color. And you would keep asking me the question, Dr. V, what do I use for dark circles? Now, what was I supposed to do at that point? At that point, either I say, okay, there's nothing. I mean, how often can I say that? Start with your alpha arbutin, but after that point, you know, then what if that's not working? So I had to make a choice. There was so little that was available that I could recommend to you in your drugstores or online for skin of color. It was literally like I would look at a whole brand and I'd find maybe 2 or 3 products that I like. And I felt like I was almost like begging for scraps from every brand for skin of color. And it just didn't feel like we were being served the way we deserve to be served. So I had to make a decision at that point. And this was months and months into making the channel and having investigated many, many brands, that I go, either I do nothing and I just carry on doing the same YouTube videos, or I try and fix the situation and I try and create kits that you are asking for that do not exist, that I can't just say go and buy that. Because honestly, if I could say go and buy that, I would. Why go to so much effort when I'm already so busy with everything else? So that's actually the way around this worked. It was me first investigating brands, realizing that the kits that we needed didn't exist. The tyrosinase inhibiting kits that we need didn't exist, and then creating them. And even now to this day, I will say, start with the cheap products. Start with your alpha arbutin from The Ordinary. Start with your niacinamide. Start with your tranexamic acid. Start with the cheap products first. If they don't work, I wanted to give my skin of color family an option to upgrade before they have to go spend a fortune doing professional grade treatment. So actually it was the other way around. It was YouTube first, investigations, and then realizing that we hadn't been served. And even my blinkers were on. I really just assumed that everything we needed would have been made already. Why would you assume anything different? So it was the other way around. But thank you for asking me that question and giving me the opportunity to answer it. The next question again was really insightful. So you said to me, you did not stay in touch with your childhood friends. And I'd say you are right. I went to a school was with people with very British backgrounds, very different backgrounds to me. My parents, are immigrant parents, and my whole world was geared towards education. Every extracurricular activity I did was to write it on my CV to get into medical school. I did Gattak, Bharatanatyam, Carnatic singing. I did everything from karate, swimming, speech and drama. Every single thing I did was to get into medical school, including Duke of Edinburgh, which was honestly hell on earth. That just did not suit me at all, but that's a story for another time. So actually, the other kids in school were, lovely girls, but they did play dates and they did sleepovers and they went to parties, and my mum and dad would never, ever have allowed any of that. It was, you study, extracurricular, study, and that was my life, to get into medical school. It was that kind of fear mentality that I think a lot of immigrant parents have, and I think a lot of you will probably relate to if you've had a similar background to me. And that created an immense work ethic in me from a young age. And even to this day, you know, if I'm not working at breakneck speed and I'm not, you know, to collapsing point every day, I feel like I failed or I've done myself a disservice. It does stay with you, does stick with you, that work ethic. However, with my own children, I won't do the same thing. I do want them to have an immense work ethic, but I want them to have really strong friendships too, because not having those friendships, I think, led to a lot of loneliness for me, if I'm honest. I don't think I developed my social skills as well as I should have done at that age. And I had to really catch up at university, I would say. I think, you know, I'd never even really spoken to a boy properly until university. You know, that's how Asians are, or my parents, I don't know about your parents, but my parents were extremely strict. And so suddenly when I saw boys at university, I didn't really know how to behave. Like, I didn't even know, I just couldn't even, couldn't even get my words out. A little bit like now, basically. But yes, I don't really want the same childhood for my children. I want them to have really strong friendships so that when life goes up and down, which it inevitably will, I'm hoping that these friends that they make at kindergarten are with them for life. I mean, maybe I'm being a bit romantic and, you know, it might not happen, but I hope it does. And I make a big effort with all the moms to make sure all our babies have like the secondary safety net, just in case they even want to come to one of the other mums about problems that they may be facing. Next one is, you have had chin filler. You are right, I've had my chin filled. The reason was that I couldn't even close my mouth properly. I've got really big teeth, and so my mouth just wouldn't close properly. And so I needed to balance my profile to get my chin done. And then I had a really big bottom lip, and so I did my upper lip to match my bottom lip. I did cheek filler because I was losing weight from my cheeks, and I've had baby Botox done here, because I wanted to be able to lift my eyebrows. I've actually done a whole video with Dr. Zoya, who's my doctor who does my injectables, discussing everything that I've done. And if you want to know about fillers, that's quite a good video for you to watch. The next one is, why would you think this? I'm a neat freak. Oh dear. Do you know what? It's because all you see is this much. You don't see that I've basically shoved all the all my clothes on either side. So basically, you know, every day I'll do the floors, the dishes, the washing. But honestly, I've got 2 kids and I'm struggling, and that's all I can do. You know, whatever I do is going to be a mess anyway. So no, I'm not a neat freak. The next is a really good question. So you want your children to be doctors and take after you. So, this is such a good question. I personally think doing a medical degree is phenomenal. It's such a privilege. It's such an interesting degree, and it helps you for life. You know, it's one of those that even if, touch wood, anything happens to my kids or they're not feeling well, I'm able to deduce quite quickly what it is or who I need to contact. Medical degree will always hold you in good stead. Also, having the title doctor will open doors for you. It's a signaling mechanism that when you say your title, people automatically associate you with a type of person, and that does help you in the future. I would also say I would want them to combine medicine with something else. So medics generally will go down the medical pathway, and they, you know, it's sort of the dumb thing. People generally don't do a medical degree and then go and do something else. But actually that's where magic happens. You know, say for example, you were a data analyst and a doctor, or say you were, I don't know, a software developer and a doctor. There are so many fields that you can combine that would help humanity that we just haven't explored actually. So I wouldn't want them just to do medicine. I would want them to do medicine plus something else and make magic happen. See where there is opportunity to add value to people's lives, that's in a non-standard way, something that they can leverage their time and help millions of people. I think ultimately what I want for them is to dream big, to dream so big that it scares them, that it scares everyone around them, And that's a level of dream that I want them to be at. And I want them to have full confidence that they can achieve it. I want them to be the best in the world at whatever they decide to be. It may not be medicine, it may be something completely different. Whatever it is, dream so big that it scares them and have the confidence to go for it. This is why I've collaborated with Sienna on the Kids Scar Cream for children, because I want her in her mind to know that that is doable, it's achievable, it's something that is now within her remit. This is why I encourage, when Sienna said, I want to have her own YouTube channel, mummy, I know a lot of parents would have said, you know, don't do that, it's very scary, you know, you don't know who's watching, etc., which I fully understand too. But I also wanted her to have the confidence to be able to write her own YouTube script, to go and produce it, to go and give herself feedback, to figure out what sort of post-production sounds that she wanted, to look at competitors, to look at other YouTube channels, see what she likes, what she wants to take, what she doesn't like. So there's so many things that you can achieve by doing a YouTube channel that it made sense for me. And the most important thing is confidence. I feel like until about 10, 11, children have so much confidence, they're bursting with confidence. And then as they get older and they start to go through puberty, and then suddenly you start to doubt everything around you and you just don't think you're good enough. And now people are comparing themselves to people on Instagram. Confidence massively declines. And that's why I'm trying to boost confidence. She's just turned 8, so I'm just trying to boost confidence, you know, until she's about 9, 10. And then hopefully that stands her in good stead for when puberty hits and suddenly, you know, your world shifts, your hormones are coursing through your veins and, you know, you don't know what's up and what's down. Because I remember that feeling so clearly. It was something that we didn't discuss enough, and I really thought there was something wrong with me for feeling that way. So I'm hoping this will give her some rocks of confidence before that hits. The next question is very interesting too. So you said you will inherit Pharmaclinics. So Pharmaclinics is my parents' company. It's they're the ones that had the first cosmetic laboratory, and I learned from their cosmetic formulator. But my answer to this is very unlikely. I've actually told my parents that I don't want them to leave us anything, any of us anything, not one penny. I want them to enjoy their life. I feel like all they ever did was sacrifice for me and my education. And at this point in my life, if I can't support myself and my children, then, you know, I failed them. And more than that, I'm very much of the opinion that I want to fund my parents' retirement. I want to give them the best life I can possibly give them, because that's what they did for me. And also I disagree with the social norm that it's the son's duty to take care of parents. Why? For me, that makes no sense. My parents really did raise us equally. They gave me probably more opportunities than even my brother, and have supported me more. So it's my duty to take care of my parents. The next one's really interesting, actually. So the question is, you'd like to help if it's a topic you know about. I try and read about a book a week. That's my aim. And I read in different fields. I try and keep a high learning index. I do feel as soon as you graduate from university, generally learning index decreases because work takes over. And so you think you've learned everything you need to learn at that point. And till this point, it's been exponential, and then suddenly it just sort of plateaus. And so that's why I force myself to keep reading. And for me, I focus on green energy, parenting, human psychology, business, autobiography, social media. Like I try and learn as much as I can from people with different backgrounds. So I do have a lot of opinions on what's going on, and if I can help, I will help. But with social media, because my platform is very much based on skincare and maybe a little bit of other things, I generally don't teach on other topics. Maybe in the future, I might have a whole channel dedicated to green energy or on parenting, etc. But at the moment, I'm very, very focused on skincare for skin of color. So yes, I will help you one-to-one, but right now I'm not going to have channels on different topics. Next one is, you have a big extended family. I do. I have a huge Punjabi family, and if you guys are Punjabi, you will know we live loud, we love hard, and that is my family. I'm so grateful for them, from my grandparents, my aunts, my little cousins. They are all phenomenal, and yeah, we're a really close family. The last one's kind of mean. You don't know how to cook. You're right. You're right. I don't know how to cook. I'm terrible, actually. Do you know what I do? I count my macros, and I just make sure that I've got what I need in my meal, and that's basically it. It's not actually food that I would ever serve to another human being. So actually, my husband does the cooking, and he's just a much better human than I am. Probably better than me in every single way. And yeah, we serve his food to other humans because it's actually really good. So wow, thank you so much for watching today's video. This was a really fun one, actually. Okay, so don't forget to download your free guide. The link is down below. Please ask me any questions you want to ask me, and it'd be really interesting to get some feedback on some of the answers that I've given, because I know I'm a little bit of an anomaly and a little bit abnormal at times. So it's really nice to know that there are other abnormal people out there too. So please do write down your experiences below. Please do follow me on Instagram at the Hyperpigmentation Clinic and at Skincare by Dr. V. Thank you very much.